Please note, any predictions and stats will be using local election results and polls as a baseline, as turnout for local elections is less than the general election, and polls don't ask every person in the country. Please take these with a grain of salt. This time we're going to be looking at the historic county of Wiltshire. Wiltshire is another county in our area with deep Conservative ties, making it a difficult county for other parties to win in. Only the two Swindon and Chippenham seats could be considered marginal seats, which have switched from Labour and Lib Dem respectively to Conservative in the last general election. As such, any Labour/Lib Dem victories will be marginal ones, making this a difficult county to predict. Whilst the number of constituencies remains the same as before, there are a great many changes in this county. First, the constituencies that only have a few changes. Salisbury has been a Conservative seat since 1924. Salisbury is gaining the Tisbury and Nadder Valley wards, as well as the rest of the Fowfant and Chalk Valley ward from South West Wiltshire, expanding westward. At the last local elections, these wards voted largely Conservatives, with one Lib Dem councillor in Tisbury adding to the incumbent Tory MP's majority. Despite this, electoral calculus predicts a tight race between the Conservatives and Labour at the next general election with the new boundaries. South West Wiltshire also loses a number of constituencies to its north, as well as the three it loses to Salisbury, and only one ward from the former Chippenham borders, that being Hilperton. The wards it loses are the half of Milksham without West and Rural, and the half of Winsley and Westwood it used to hold. Both of these wards voted Conservative in 2021. This might help tip the scales as polls suggest a marginal flip to Labour at the next general election. The two Swindon constituencies tell two different tales of changing sizes. Swindon North barely changes, losing only two southern wards, whereas Swindon South shrinks, losing three big wards to the newly formed East Wiltshire constituency. The wards lost are most of the Chiseldon and Lawn ward, the Wroughton and Witchstow ward, and the Ridgeway ward. At the last local elections in 2022, Swindon have their own borough council. Each of these wards elected a Conservative councillor, weakening a Conservative position here. Polls, as they stand, predict a Labour win in both Swindon constituencies for the first time since the 2005 general election. Now the three constituencies that have the most changes. North Wiltshire is wiped from the map, the wards here going to the new South Cotswolds and Chippenham constituencies. Chippenham's borders get a complete overhaul, the constituency moving north-eastward. The wards that make up the town of Chippenham and the town of Corsham stay in the constituency. However, the constituency gains all but one of the Carn wards, as well as the three
Royal Wootton Bassett
wards and the Lynham ward to the former North Wiltshire constituency.
The Royal Wootton Bassett
wards elected Conservative councillors in 2021, with Carn electing a mix of Lib Dems and Tories. Chippenham and Corsham mainly chose Lib Dem councillors, with a few Conservatives here and there in the same local elections. The electoral calculus says polls in the new borders predict a small Conservative victory. Devizes also has its borders completely redrawn, keeping its western wards and taking wards from the former Chippenham and South West Wiltshire constituency borders. It is also renamed to Milksham and Devizes, since the wards it takes from the old two constituencies are the Milksham wards. The wards that make up the new constituency at the last local elections voted largely Conservative, with a few independents in Devizes elected. Not unsurprising that the polls predict a Conservative victory in this part of Wiltshire. The wards that make up the majority of the former Devizes constituency will now make up the majority of the newly formed Wiltshire East constituency. It also takes the Till Valley and Amesbury wards from Salisbury's former borders and the three big wards from Swindon South's former boundaries. These wards elected mostly Conservative councillors in 2021 to the Wiltshire County Council and the Swindon Borough Council. The electoral calculus agrees with this trend from 2021, predicting a Tory victory in the new constituency. So how do I think the borders will affect the county at the next general election, taking in polling and previous local election results? These are my predictions. As I said at the start, these new constituencies, if they do flip leftwards, will be very marginal, meaning it's very difficult to predict here. We now only have 2 counties left to analyse, so please subscribe to West England Bylines to see how Oxfordshire and Hereford and Worcestershire will change. Next time, we're looking at Oxfordshire and the 6 constituencies there.